A young man stood inside a hospital room, right beside his sister, who lay unconscious in a coma. The sight of her fragile condition raised a painful question. The answer was both simple and infuriating. During a battle, an S-rank hunter had made a mistake, and she had become the victim of that carelessness. The man, Yang Jia, burned with anger. Until now, he had never been a hunter, but something within him had awakened, something strange and unsettling. It felt almost as if fate itself, or perhaps even God, was guiding him toward revenge. Outside the hospital room, his father was equally furious. The Hunters Association had sent a representative, offering a deal, compensation of 1 lakh rupees, to cover the girl's medical expenses. But Yang Jia's father rejected it outright. He didn't want money. He wanted justice. He wanted the hunter responsible to come in person and apologize. At that moment, Yang Jia stepped in. Calmly, he told the representative that they would accept the money, but only if the hunter personally came to apologize. The representative immediately dismissed the idea, claiming it was impossible. Hearing this, Yang Jia smiled faintly. So, this was the so-called famous hunter, someone who thought money alone could fix everything. They needed the money for Fei Fei's treatment, but that didn't mean they would let the matter go. Yang Jia promised that he would take justice into his own hands. To an outsider, it would seem impossible. After all, how could someone as weak as him stand against powerful hunters? But neither the man in the suit, nor even his own father knew the truth. Yang Jia was no ordinary person anymore. He had awakened a hidden and terrifying ability, the power to steal the abilities of others. In fact, he had already tested it once, on his own sister, and it had worked perfectly. Later that evening, as the representative left the hospital, he made a phone call. He reported that everything had been settled, even though it required an additional $1 lakh in compensation. On the other end, Bing Chu Jr. casually responded, as if it was just a trivial amount. He even praised Lawyer Wang and instructed his secretary to transfer the money later. After the call ended, Lawyer Wang sighed, thinking about how comfortable the hero's life must be. He wished he could awaken an ability himself. Meanwhile, Yang Jia returned to his sister's bedside. Looking at Fei Fei, he softly told her not to blame him for signing the contract. She understood their family situation better than anyone, but he reassured her she didn't need to worry. He would uncover the truth. He refused to believe that this incident was just an accident. Some awakened individuals didn't deserve to be called heroes at all, and he would change that. Yang Jia was a trainee reporter, a normal man whose life had been shattered by an A-rank hero's mistake. His sister, Yang Fei Fei, was now lying in a coma because of it. To carry out his plan, he distanced himself from his parents and moved to the Mingyu area. After settling into his new apartment, he was greeted by 2 girls. One of them introduced herself cheerfully as Ding Luan. The other, sitting on the sofa, was Jay. There was also a 3rd roommate who hadn't returned yet. Ding Luan asked for his name, and he introduced himself as Yang Jia. She suggested they celebrate having a new housemate, but Jay mentioned that the 3rd roommate was a student who would be at the library tonight, so they could go without her. However, Yang Jia declined. He had just arrived and felt exhausted. All he wanted was rest. He entered his room, lay down on the bed, and pulled out his phone. A video of heroes fighting monsters had gone viral, and countless explanation videos about abilities had surfaced afterward. Although he couldn't recall exactly when it began, dark portals had suddenly appeared all over the world. From these portals, monsters emerged and attacked humanity. The only reason the planet survived was because of people with special abilities, those who were called heroes. To prevent misuse of these powers, a law had been passed. Only hunters who passed official tests and received a hero certificate were allowed to use their abilities. Yang Jia opened a specific video, the one where his sister had been injured. After watching it carefully, he sighed. So far, he hadn't found anything suspicious, but he decided he would analyze it again tomorrow. Then he checked the time. It was already 2:30 in the morning. Startled, he realized he needed to brush his teeth and shower quickly, since he had a busy day ahead. As he stepped out of his room, he noticed a drunk girl staggering nearby. He assumed she must be the 3rd roommate. Trying to be polite, he greeted her. The girl, barely conscious, asked if she could use the restroom. Moments later, she rushed inside, vomited, and then passed out in the toilet. Concerned, Yang Jia approached her and asked if she was all right or needed help. But the girl warned him that men shouldn't get too close to a woman in such a state. Unsure of what to do, Yang Jia went to Ding Luan's room and knocked on her door. When she opened it, she asked why he was still awake so late. He apologized for disturbing her and explained the situation, asking if she could help since she was also a woman. But Ding Luan dismissed it casually. This wasn't the first time it had happened. She told him to just leave the girl there and get some rest, since it was already late. With that, she shut the door. Yang Jia realized that he was the only one who could help. He returned to the girl and tried to wake her, but she didn't respond. Apologizing in advance, he gently lifted her into his arms. At that exact moment, a system notification appeared before his eyes. An ability had been detected, brain overload. Yang Jia immediately understood. This girl also possessed an ability. The system provided a detailed description. It was an A-rank ability that temporarily overloaded the brain, greatly enhancing computational power. It had good potential, although its owner seemed unaware of it. After placing the girl on the sofa and covering her with a jacket, Yang Jia observed her quietly. She seemed intelligent. If she studied properly, she could become exceptional. Even so, he decided to take her ability, but someday he would repay her for it. The system confirmed that the brain overload ability had been successfully stolen. Yang Jia then wondered what effect it would have on him. The system explained that both brain overload and his existing mental attack ability belonged to the same category, mental abilities, and asked if he wanted to merge them. Without hesitation, he agreed. The system announced the successful fusion. A new D+ rank ability was born, Superbrain. It automatically launched mental attacks and significantly enhanced his ability to calculate and deduce. However, it was also described as a double-edged sword that needed to be used wisely. After reading everything, Yang Jia realized something important. With this ability, he could analyze the video of his sister's incident far more effectively and uncover hidden clues. The next day, someone knocked on his door. Still half asleep, Yang Jia opened it and found the same girl from last night. She returned his coat, the one he had used to cover her, and thanked him for helping her. She introduced herself as Lin Naishue. Taking his coat back, Yang Jia recognized her. She looked completely different now, calm and innocent, nothing like the drunk girl from before. He told her it was nothing, just a simple act of kindness. He then introduced himself as Yang 11. But suddenly, he remembered something. He had stolen her ability. Even though she didn't seem to notice anything unusual, he felt slightly uneasy. Since he also possessed a pulling type ability, he asked if she felt all right or if anything seemed off. Lin Naishue smiled gently and reassured him that she was fine. She was already used to it, so he didn't need to worry. Just then, a man barged into the room, calling out loudly. He looked at Lin Naishue and teasingly asked Yang Jia if he had started dating someone behind his back. Annoyed, Yang Jia told him to stop talking nonsense and clarified that she was just his neighbor. The man, surprised, introduced himself properly. His name was Fan Peng, Yang Jia's friend and colleague. Lin Naishue greeted him politely, asking him to simply call her Naishue. Fan Peng then began bragging about his own ability. He could take photos and videos with his bare hands, making him perfect for capturing beautiful moments. But before he could continue, Yang Jia interrupted, saying they were getting late for the editorial office. Fan Peng tried to protest, claiming he hadn't finished speaking, but Yang Jia dragged him away anyway. At Lugong Publishing Company, Yang Jia immediately began reviewing the video again. Activating his super brain ability, he watched it repeatedly, analyzing every detail. This movement, something about it feels strange, he muttered. But before he could continue, Fan Peng nudged him and teased him for not being interested in flirting with girls, especially someone as beautiful as Lin Naishue. If Yang Jia wasn't going to make a move, he gladly would. Yang Jia dismissed him, saying she was just a neighbor and that his friend shouldn't go too far. Fan Peng laughed, claiming that turning a flatmate into a bedmate was easy, and he could even teach him how. Before the conversation could go further, a loud alarm echoed through the area. A monster had appeared. Both of them jumped from their seats and rushed to the window. And there it was, a one-eyed assassin-type monster. The government quickly issued an announcement urging all citizens to head to the nearest shelter. Heroes were already on their way. Soon, a hero arrived on the scene, reassuring everyone not to panic. After all, the famous B-rank hero, known as Spicy and Sour Noodles, had already arrived. He declared confidently that he wouldn't let anything happen to the city. The crowd erupted with relief and excitement. Their hero had come to save them. Fan Peng zoomed in on the image of the one-eyed assassin and analyzed it carefully. He explained that the monster didn't just possess incredibly strong defenses, it also had a terrifying working in coordination with 18 spider-like entity. Defeating such a creature would be extremely difficult. In fact, he doubted that the so-called superhero, Spicy and Sour Noodles, would be able to win it all. Turning around, Fan Peng began repeating the information to Yang Jia, but Yang Jia was no longer there. Slightly surprised, he muttered that Yang had run off unusually fast. Still, he continued watching from the window, thinking to himself that most people were weak and perhaps it was time to make some money using his own ability. At that moment, another hero arrived on the battlefield, Fiery Butterfly. She approached the scene and asked if help was needed. Spicy and sour noodles immediately responded, saying she had arrived at the perfect time and should begin attacking the monster. Fiery Butterfly nodded in agreement. Meanwhile, a live broadcast of the battle had already begun. The hosts were Director G and manhwa. Director G commented that Spicy and Sour Noodles was a melee-type hero, but when he first appeared, he had been known for being selfish and narcissistic. manhwa, surprised, questioned why Director G would describe such a popular hero in that way. Director G calmly explained that Spicy and Sour Noodles needed to eat a bowl of spicy and sour noodles to activate his ability. Because of this, he usually only appeared after other heroes had already weakened the monster significantly. Then he would step in and finish it off. manhwa smiled, saying this was exactly what he expected from Director G, someone who always revealed information others didn't know. Director G told him to stop chatting and focus on a live fight. Back on the battlefield, the battle intensified. Fiery Butterfly asked Spicy and Sour Noodles to step aside, then launched a powerful attack using her flames. The presenters continued commenting excitedly as the fight progressed. manhwa confidently announced that the monster was about to be defeated, but Director G immediately disagreed. manhwa, confused, asked why. Director G explained that monsters were intelligent, and so far, he hadn't seen even a trace of panic in this one. As Fiery Butterfly stopped her fiery assault, everyone saw the shocking truth. The monster wasn't defeated. It wasn't even injured. Spicy and Sour Noodles then revealed that the monster had evolved. It now possessed a fireproof shield. Fiery Butterfly grew anxious and turned toward him, asking if he could hold out longer. Reinforcements would take time to arrive. At that moment, Spicy and Sour Noodles recalled the conversation he had with his director. He had been warned that his career as a professional hero had reached a critical turning point. If he wanted to rise higher and become one of the company's top stars, he couldn't afford to lose now. A single failure could damage his reputation, and the company might shift its resources to newer heroes. The thought terrified him. He couldn't lose his position. He wouldn't allow it. Determined, he pulled out a strange blue pill and swallowed it. Watching from afar, Yang Jia felt a sense of familiarity. He was certain he had seen that blue pill somewhere before. At that very moment, the monster suddenly grabbed Fiery Butterfly. She screamed, calling for help as she struggled to escape. The live broadcast zoomed in on the horrifying scene, and comments began flooding in. One viewer wrote that everyone already knew Spicy and Sour Noodles could only maintain his peak power for 15 minutes. Another user begged for any hero to come and save her. Fiery Butterfly continued to struggle, crying out that she didn't want to die. Then suddenly, one of the monster's tentacles was torn apart. Fiery Butterfly was released. It was Spicy and Sour Noodles. manhwa slammed his fist on the table in excitement, shouting that it was incredible. Even though the hero was only supposed to sustain his combat form for 15 minutes, this time he had surpassed his limits. He was stronger than ever. Overjoyed, manhwa even jumped from his chair, declaring that the hero hadn't grown weak at all. Director G, however, remained calm, noting that something about this was unusual. Before he could elaborate, manhwa cut him off angrily, telling him not to speak as if he were the one-eyed assassin attacking the hero. On the battlefield, Spicy and Sour Noodles stood directly before the monster and declared that it was time to end the fight. The monster lashed out with all its tentacles, but the hero grabbed them and challenged it, asking if that was all it could do. At one point, he was buried under falling debris, but he forced his way out with sheer strength. Then, tearing apart all the monster's tentacles, he finally defeated it. However, the victory came at a cost. His strength was completely drained. Blood spilled from his mouth as he collapsed to the ground. Fiery Butterfly rushed to him. Visibly shaken, she stared at him in fear and asked what that pill had done to him. Grabbing his shoulder, she demanded to know what was happening. Struggling to maintain control, Spicy and Sour Noodles forced a smile and reassured her that he was fine. He had simply overused his power. Relieved, she told him he had scared her. Around them, the crowd erupted into cheers. People shouted about how reliable heroes were, praising Spicy and Sour Noodles for being so cool. At the same time, many expressed their admiration for Fiery Butterfly as well. Watching from a distance, Yang Jia thought the situation was finally over. He would need to return and prepare the news report. But something still bothered him. That blue pill. He couldn't forget it. Then his eyes shifted to the corpse of the one-eyed monster, and suddenly, something moved. A smaller creature emerged from within the body. Yang Jia narrowed his eyes. Was that a smaller one-eyed killer? A clone? The small monster was furious. It leaped out and rushed straight toward him. Yang Jia immediately analyzed the situation. The creature's physical and elemental defenses were extremely high, meaning its weakness was likely mental attacks. The small one-eyed killer muttered that it would take revenge on spicy and sour noodles once it found a new host and gathered enough energy. Then it noticed Yang Jia. Its tone changed. This young man looks perfect. He will become my host. Yang Jia adjusted his glasses calmly. So you sent yourself here? He said coldly. Good. Now your ability will become mine. In the next moment, he absorbed its ability. The small one-eyed assassin collapsed and died instantly. Nearby, Fiery Butterfly sensed something unusual. She turned, realizing that someone had used an ability. Meanwhile, Yang Jia picked up the corpse and muttered that it was fortunate this was only a weak clone. Even though its weakness was mental attacks, a D+ rank mental ability alone wouldn't normally be enough to kill it instantly. As he extracted its power, the system notified him. Ability acquired, B rank Fire Shield. It provided protection against fire attacks below B rank and significantly enhanced physical defense. It was an extremely useful tanking ability. After reading the details, Yang Jia remarked that it was like an invisible armor covering the surface of the body. While every ability had a weakness, this one seemed exceptionally reliable. At that moment, Fiery Butterfly began searching for the source of the energy. Who's there? She called out. Yang Jia quickly hid behind a nearby building, thinking that it wasn't time for anyone to discover him yet. Fiery Butterfly landed close to his hiding spot, sensing a strong flow of psychic energy. She was certain someone had been there. Then suddenly, a man stepped out from behind the building. Were you looking for me? He asked. It was Yang Jia, now wearing a mask. Startled, Fiery Butterfly asked what ability he had just used and whether he was a hero. She had never seen him before. Without answering directly, Yang Jia tossed the corpse of the small one-eyed killer at her feet and said casually that he was just a passerby who had helped her. She stared at the corpse in shock, realizing it was indeed a clone of the one-eyed killer. In her mind, she was conflicted. This man had effortlessly defeated such a dangerous creature, yet he wasn't a registered hero. Using abilities without authorization was illegal. As Yang Jia turned to leave, she stopped him. She declared that he had used abilities unlawfully and must come with her to the Hero Association for investigation. Yang Jia reminded Zhao. Do you really think you can stop me? He asked. Enraged, Fiery Butterfly insisted that his actions violated the law and she had every right to take action against him. Still unfazed, Yang Jia questioned whether heroes truly treated ordinary people this way. He then caught one of her small fire butterflies in his hand and crushed it. Walking past her, he asked quietly, Now, is it my turn to attack? Fear instantly took over her face. Terrified, she flew back. Yang Jia muttered to himself about spicy and sour noodles and that blue pill. The hero he had seen the other day on the glacier must have used the same thing. Removing his mask, he made a firm decision. He would uncover the entire truth. As evening fell, Yang Jia traveled through Luhansk city by metro, sitting quietly in the subway as his thoughts continued to race. As Yang Jia sat quietly in the subway, he began organizing his thoughts. For now, he decided that he should stop collecting abilities recklessly and instead focus on developing his brain reboot ability. At the same time, he needed to investigate the mysterious blue pill. Just then, a man brushed past him, offering a faint apology as he walked by. A moment later, Yang Jia casually ran his hand over the seat beside him and froze. His backpack was gone. His eyes widened as he immediately stood up, scanning the surroundings. Muttering to himself, he tried to recall what had just happened. Where was that man in the rooster costume? Was it really the same person in the jacket? Had he disappeared? But the train hadn't reached the next station yet. There was no way he could have gone far. Could it be someone with an invisibility ability? No, that didn't explain the scent. Activating his brain reboot ability, Yang Jia sharpened his senses. Within seconds, he detected the familiar scent of his backpack coming from that same man. However, the man's aura and appearance didn't match. This wasn't invisibility. It was something else. A shape-shifting ability. A faint smile appeared on Yang Jia's face. This ability, which had practically fallen into his hands, would be extremely useful. Even after getting off at the station, he continued following the man. The man muttered to himself that today was harvest day, though he couldn't understand why he suddenly felt so nervous. Then he turned and locked eyes with Yang Jia. Yang Jia simply waved. The man panicked. How had he been discovered? Stop! Yang Jia called out. The man immediately ran. Cursing under his breath, he dashed into a public restroom and hid. But Yang Jia followed him inside without hesitation. Calmly, he mocked him, asking if he planned to use every petty trick, hiding in a toilet just because he was weak. Come out, Yang Jia ordered. However, when he switched on the lights, the man was nowhere to be seen. Yang Jia frowned. Had he gone into the ladies' restroom? He knocked on one of the stalls and demanded that the man come out, saying he knew he was inside. From within, a voice shouted back, calling him a pervert and asking what he was trying to do. Young Jie sighed. So you want to do this the hard way. With a single kick, he broke open the stall door. The man screamed, accusing him loudly while throwing toilet paper at him. As young Jie brushed the paper off himself, he realized just how strange this ability was. It even altered the user's voice. The man quickly begged for forgiveness, claiming it was his first time. Young Jie replied coldly that it was unfortunate the ability couldn't change his physical body completely. Letting out a defeated sigh, the man admitted his bad luck. He pulled out the stolen backpack and handed it over, claiming that everything inside was untouched. Young Jie checked it briefly, but the man insisted that he hadn't even opened it. Satisfied, young Jie told him to find a proper job and become a better person in the future. The man eagerly agreed, promising never to steal again and thanking young Jie for letting him go. Young Jie looked at him calmly. Did I say I was letting you go? The man's face turned pale. A short while later, young Jie had already extracted his ability. As he walked away, he muttered to himself that he had promised to stop collecting abilities, but he simply couldn't resist such temptation. The ability he obtained was an F-rank skill, change clothes anywhere. With a single gesture, it allowed the user to instantly change outfits and even provided storage space. Young Jie tested it immediately, switching into a clean suit. Stepping out of the restroom, he concluded that this was an extremely practical and useful ability. Just then, 2 police officers approached him and greeted him politely. They explained that they had received a report about shouting in the women's restroom and a possible pervert. They asked if he had noticed anything. Without hesitation, young Jie told them that he had indeed seen a suspicious individual disguised as someone else behaving strangely. The officers nodded and went to investigate. Moments later, young Jie watched as they dragged the culprit out of the women's restroom. He sighed inwardly. Some ability users truly didn't deserve their powers, but he would change that. 1 week later, young Jie arrived at a location by taxi, where his friend Fan Peng was waiting for him. Waving energetically, Fan Peng greeted him enthusiastically. Finally, you're here. But young Jie remained serious, asking what was so important that it required a phone call. Fan Peng walked up to him, gave him a hug, and excitedly asked him to guess who he had just seen at a nightclub. Young Jie, unimpressed, asked directly. Fan Peng grinned. Your girlfriend, Lin Naishua. He claimed she was working there as an attendant. Young Jie immediately denied it. She wasn't his girlfriend. Then he asked why Fan Peng was even telling him this. By then, they had already reached the club. Fan Peng told him to stop pretending. He could see everything clearly. They entered the club, and Fan Peng led him to a table. At that moment, Lin Naishua noticed young Jie. He felt slightly awkward. Meanwhile, Fan Peng had already ordered a cocktail and decided to lighten the mood. He told young Jie not to be so down. There were plenty of beautiful girls in the world. Since they were in his territory tonight, young Jie should just relax and enjoy himself. He then called over 3 girls. They approached and greeted them politely. Fan Peng introduced them as Li Li, Tian Tian, and Bao Bao, calling them his cute little sisters. Then he introduced young Jie as his best friend, proudly asking if he wasn't handsome. One of the girls immediately sat beside young Jie, praising his looks. Another offered him a drink. At a nearby table, 2 men and 3 women were also present. One of the men complained bitterly about his bad luck. If his brother hadn't taken his McLaren, he wouldn't have lost a race to someone named Gao Jian. Li Yin told him to accept his loss instead of blaming the car. The man, Lu Yuan, was already heavily drunk. He snapped back, mocking Li Yin and suggesting that failing to reach his father had forced him into becoming a bodyguard. Li Yin calmly responded, asking if it was because Lu Yuan couldn't keep his mouth shut. She added that it must be frustrating for someone like Lu Yuan, a normal person, to be limited by a hero of her rank. That comment enraged Lu Yuan. He stood up and slapped one of the girls across the face. Then he began shouting angrily, insulting everyone around him and complaining about the cheap alcohol. The girl fell to the ground, and he poured an entire bottle of alcohol over her. Young Jie saw everything. For a moment, he almost stepped in, but Fan Peng stopped him, warning him not to act recklessly. Lu Yuan was no ordinary person. He was the second son of an A-rank mechanical hero from the Kunlun Company. His bodyguard, Li Yin, was a C-rank hero known as Fiery Fist. But young Jie didn't listen. He simply told Fan Peng to let go. Fan Peng argued that a normal person like him couldn't compete with someone like Lu Yuan. Young Jie replied calmly that he knew. I'm just going to the restroom. Meanwhile, Lu Yuan had already sat back down, surrounded by 2 girls. He hugged them arrogantly, saying that now they knew how to apologize. Then he ordered them to beat the girl who had been attacked, promising to forgive them afterward. At that moment, one of the men began pouring alcohol into Lin Naishua's shoe. Suddenly, a masked figure appeared, young Jia. Without hesitation, he struck the man. Then he turned toward Lu Yuan and said calmly, "I heard the son of a mechanical hero was here." Lu Yuan, too drunk to respond properly, staggered in his seat. His bodyguard, Li Yin, stepped forward instead and demanded to know who he was. Lu Yuan laughed drunkenly, assuming it was just another fool looking for death. Young Jia replied that he was simply someone who wanted to make a deal. "What kind of deal?" Lu Yin interrupted, suggesting it was time for them to leave. But Lu Yuan angrily threw a bottle at him, ordering him to step aside. Someone wanted to negotiate, and he intended to hear it. Frustrated, Li Yin placed a hand on Lu Yuan's shoulder, telling him to rest while he handled the situation. Young Jia sat calmly on the sofa, holding a glass of alcohol. Looking at Li Yin, he asked, "Do you want to attack me?" He added that he usually disliked violence, but Li Yin had interfered with his conversation. Setting the glass down, he stood up. "I guess I'll have to teach you a lesson." Li Yin smirka. Let's see who teaches who. His fists ignited with flames as he prepared to attack, declaring that young Jia had chosen the wrong day to provoke him. Young Jia observed calmly. A C-rank fire elemental attack. A crowd quickly gathered around them. Some whispered in awe at young Jia's courage. He was challenging someone connected to an A-rank hero. Nearby, Lin Naishua was being helped by others as they cleaned the spilled alcohol. Voices in the crowd murmured with curiosity. Some wondered why the fight had started. Others questioned whether the masked man, whose mask oddly resembled a chicken, could actually defeat Fiery Fist. Without warning, Li Yin lunged forward, his flaming fists aimed directly at young Jia. But as he approached, he hesitated. Why wasn't young Jia dodging? Was this a trap? Still, he pressed forward, mocking him. "Fool! Since the day I became a hero, no enemy has ever survived this attack." Li Yin launched his attack without hesitation. The crowd immediately panicked, with someone shouting that young Jia would surely be burned alive. But when the flames finally subsided, everyone was stunned. Young Jia was still standing there, completely unharmed. Even Li Yin was shocked, unable to comprehend how he had taken the attack without a scratch. In the next moment, young Jia used a mental attack. Li Yang Kuyapsha instantly unkunsios. Seeing this, Lu Yuan jumped up in shock, shouting that young Jia was incredibly strong. The so-called fiery boxer had been defeated in a single move. After securing his victory, young Jia calmly used his extraction ability once again. This time, he obtained an A-rank ability, Flame Strike. It allowed him to generate flames from his hands, an extremely powerful and effective skill. By now, the entire crowd had already fled, leaving only Lu Yuan behind. Terrified, Lu Yuan finally sobered up slightly. Looking around, he muttered in confusion, wondering how Li Yin had lost so quickly. Realizing he had no other choice, he turned to young Jia and nervously asked about the deal. "How much money do you want? I can transfer it right now." But young Jia ignored him. Instead, he grabbed Lu Yuan by the throat. Gasping for air, Lu Yuan shouted that young Jia had no idea who his father was. Young Jia replied coldly, "Your father is a mechanical hero, so what?" Lu Yuan threatened him, saying that if he was killed, his father would never let young Jia go. Pulling him even closer, young Jia said calmly, "I'm not going to kill you." Then with a chilling tone, he added, "But do you know what I want to offer you?" Struggling to breathe, Lu Yuan asked what he meant. Young Jia released him and asked a simple question, "Do you want ability?" Lu Yuan froze, stunned. "What? Ability?" Young Jia threw a piece of paper toward him. "If you want it, come alone to this address in 7 days. With that, the matter was settled. Later, young Jia called Fan Peng. Fan Peng sounded worried, saying he thought young Jia had disappeared. He asked why he hadn't called. Young Jia replied calmly that the bar had been too noisy, so he had stepped outside for some air. Then he asked what was going on. Fan Peng excitedly said that young Jia had missed an incredible show. He was on his way to meet him and would explain everything. He even suggested grabbing barbecue together. Young Jia agreed, saying he could eat anything. As he ended the call, he thought to himself, the first part of his plan was complete. Now, he just had to wait for Lu Yuan to take the bait. If things went as expected, he could begin investigating the Kunlun company from within. He silently promised his sister, Fei Fei, that he would soon uncover the entire truth. Meanwhile, at the Hero Association, several heroes had gathered to review footage of the incident at the bar. The mechanical hero asked for everyone's opinions. Ice Adventurer commented that the masked man had used his hand like a blade, defeating Fiery Boxer instantly, suggesting his level might be extremely high. However, the lazy swordsman disagreed. He pointed out that the attack itself wasn't what defeated Li Yin. The moment the masked man made a simple motion, Li Yin had already lost. Mo Long placed a report on the table, an injury assessment from the identification department. As everyone read it, their expressions changed drastically. They were shocked. Fiery boxer's ability is gone? The mechanical hero confirmed that it appeared to be true. The lazy swordsman frowned, questioning where such a person, someone capable of erasing abilities, had come from. Mo Long explained that as far as he knew, only S-rank heroes possessed such power. The mechanical hero asked if he suspected a specific individual. At that moment, the glacial adventurer stood up abruptly, rejecting the idea. The person they were thinking of, Transporter, was an old man nearing death. There was no way he could appear like this. Mo Long concluded that the Kunlun Company wouldn't be able to handle this matter alone and would need to report it to the Hero Association. But the lazy swordsman raised another concern. Someone with such a unique power would inevitably be treated as nothing more than a weapon by a company. The mechanical hero then made a decision. They would not report this immediately. For now, this would remain their company's secret. Elsewhere, Liu Yin lay on his bed deep in thought. He kept replaying Yang Jia's words in his mind. Abilities. Could he really obtain one? That man had called it a deal. But what exactly did he want in return? Taking out the paper again, Liu Yin stared at the address. Then he clenched it tightly. No matter what happened, in just 2 more days, he would gain power. And nothing else mattered. Meanwhile, Yang Jia met Fan Peng again, this time at a museum. Fan Peng immediately asked why he'd been called there so suddenly. Yang Jia explained that he wanted to learn more about monster. If he ever encountered one, it would be easier to escape. Or perhaps, he wondered silently, could he extract the power of an S-rank monster? As they entered the museum, Yang Jia teased Fan Peng, saying it seemed like he had come to flirt with girls rather than study monsters. Fan Peng laughed, claiming that only beautiful girls came to places like this. Ignoring him, Yang Jia pointed toward a massive exhibit. It was an S-rank monster, 7m tall and 12m long. It had been one of the earliest monsters to appear, unleashing devastating electrical attacks that had paralyzed Lugan City. During that disaster, 5 A-rank heroes, 13 B-rank heroes, and 27 C-rank heroes had died. Standing before its statue, Yang Jia explained that he planned to write an article about its attack. Fan Peng admired its immense power. Meanwhile, Yang Jia wondered, what if he could extract that terrifying strength? He reached out toward the statue, but suddenly a guard stopped him. Yang Jia quickly introduced himself as a journalist and showed his identification, explaining that he was researching monsters. The guard glanced at the card and replied that he could observe, but not touch. Yang Jia and Fan Peng exchanged a glance. Then, cleverly, Fan Peng distracted the guard by asking absurd questions about beautiful girls, completely confusing him. While the guard was distracted, Yang Jia quickly reached out again. The system activated. Extraction process started. He could feel the power, but extracting it was far more difficult than before. After some effort, he finally succeeded. Extraction complete. But when he checked the results, he froze. The ability he obtained was only E-rank lightning. It could merely generate a small electric sphere, useful for charging a phone. Yang Jia was deeply disappointed. He had extracted power from an S-rank monster and received something so weak. He began to suspect that the monster's long-dead state had weakened the result. Perhaps the reason he succeeded before was because that monster had still been alive. After wandering through the museum, he concluded that there was nothing truly useful here. Still, he couldn't give up. That evening, back in his room, he reviewed everything he had obtained. 3 weak abilities. An F-rank ability that created a temporary clone lasting 1 minute. An E-rank lightning ability. And another F-rank ability that could influence people to become interested in him. Looking at them, he felt uneasy. These powers were far too weak. Then a thought crossed his mind. If abilities could be merged, could they also be destroyed? Deciding to test it, he attempted to dismantle one using his C-rank fire ability. The first attempt failed, but after trying again, he succeeded. The system announced that the ability had been broken down into its most basic form, dark energy. A stable, fundamental, cube-like substance. Holding the dark cube in his hand, Yang Jia realized something astonishing. Abilities could be reduced to their core components. And if that was true, then perhaps they could also be rebuilt or even strengthened. Without hesitation, he experimented again. This time, enhancing an ability using the dark energy. It worked. The ability evolved into an E-rank version with improved mental influence. Yang Jia's eyes lit up with excitement. If this was possible, could he one day create S-rank abilities himself? Just then, loud screams echoed from the corridor. Someone shouted for help, telling others to stay away. Yang Jia's expression darkened. Could it be Liu Yin had gone after Lin Naixue? Elsewhere, inside her room, Lin Naixue sat crying uncontrollably. Her father sat silently on the couch, smoking a cigarette as the tension in the room grew heavier. Lin Naishue confronted her parents, her voice trembling with pain and anger. Her father tried to explain that they hadn't intended to deceive her. But before he could finish, Yang Jia stepped into the room. Lin Naishue demanded answers. Had her father really lied about being seriously ill just to get money from her? Did he have any idea how desperate she had been after hearing that news? She had worked non-stop for shifts a day just to send money as quickly as possible. At that moment, her mother joined the conversation and revealed the truth. Her brother needed money to buy a house, a car, and even to get married. Altogether, it would cost nearly $1 million. Lin Naishue was devastated. So you really tricked me just to get money? She asked, her voice breaking. Her father tried to justify it, saying they thought she would do what she could first and they would find other ways later. After all, their family lineage couldn't simply end with them. But Lin Naishue saw through everything. Was this just a way to bring me home and sell me to some man I don't even know? Her mother stepped closer, trying to comfort her. She insisted that the man wasn't bad, that he was honest and would treat her well. That was the final straw. Lin Naishue snapped. "What's wrong with you?" She shouted. "Do you even know where that 50,000 came from? The money I sent you last week." Her voice shook as she revealed the truth. She had been working as a bartender. And more than that, she had become an escort. Her parents were horrified. Her father stood up in rage, accusing her of disgracing the family. In his anger, he raised his hand to strike her. But Lin Naishue didn't back down. "Go ahead and hit me," she said bitterly. "Those clients have already hit me harder than you ever could." Before the situation could escalate, Yang Jia stepped in and stopped him. He told her father that everything could be discussed calmly. After all, she was still their daughter. But her father, blinded by anger, demanded to know who Yang Jia thought he was interfering in their family matters. Yang Jia observed him carefully. There was no regret in his eyes. However, when he glanced at Lin Naishue's mother, he sensed something different. Regret. That was enough for him. Deciding to intervene, Yang Jia activated his C-rank human control ability. Almost instantly, Lin Naishue's mother stepped forward and struck her husband, shouting that enough was enough. She blamed him for pushing their daughter into such a life. Then she embraced Lin Naishue tightly, apologizing through tears, saying that no matter what, she was still her precious daughter. Her father finally fell silent. After a long pause, he sighed and admitted his mistake. He declared that from now on, the brother would earn everything himself. Lin Naishue, still emotional, said that it was enough as long as they understood their mistakes now. After all, who in this world wouldn't feel guilty for hurting their own family? Hearing her words, Yang Jia was reminded of his own sister lying in the hospital. The next morning, Lin Naishue accompanied her parents to the railway station to see them off. She told them to take care, promising to visit during the new year. Her mother smiled gently and reminded her to take care of herself and to stop doing dangerous or foolish things. After they left, Lin Naishue turned to Yang Jia and thanked him sincerely for his help. Yang Jia handed her a cup of coffee and said he hoped her brother would come to his senses. That would be far more valuable than any money she could send. Lin Naishue smiled mischievously and asked him to come closer. Confused, Yang Jia leaned in slightly and she kissed him on the cheek. Blushing, she thanked him once again. That night, Yang Jia put on his suit and headed out again. He arrived at a monster corpse processing center, a heavily guarded facility filled with the remains of monsters. For him, this place was a gold mine. It would allow him to acquire new abilities far more easily. However, getting inside wouldn't be simple. As a large transport vehicle passed by, Yang Jia slipped underneath it, holding on tightly, but he soon realized he wasn't alone. A girl was already there. She signaled him to stay quiet. Yang Jia was surprised. Was she also trying to infiltrate the facility? He greeted her casually, calling it quite a coincidence, but the girl didn't seem pleased. She sarcastically replied that her luck must be terrible to run into someone like him. She introduced herself as Qian Dodo, a representative of the Fahai Trade Guild, and stated that they would follow the rules of the field and rely on their own abilities. Yang Jia gave a brief introduction in return. As the vehicle approached the unloading area, Qian Dodo warned that she couldn't jump off safely alone. Yang Jia told her to hold on tightly. She grabbed him, and together they jumped down. Once they landed, Yang Jia cleared his throat and asked how long she planned to keep hugging him. Embarrassed, Qian Dodo immediately let go, her face turning red as she snapped back defensively. Sneaking inside, they entered a processing room filled with monster corpses. Qian Dodo noticed Yang Jia's curious expression and asked if he was new to this kind of work. He nodded, jokingly calling her big sister and saying he would follow her lead. She smirked, saying that since he was so polite, she wouldn't stop him from tagging along. They approached a massive werewolf corpse. Qian Dodo explained that her boss needed white fur from its chest, so they had to carefully cut it out. She showed him a small box, proudly explaining that her storage ability could hold many items. Yang Jie internally mocked the name of such a powerful space-related ability. As Qian Dodo turned away, Yang Jie secretly used his extraction ability. He obtained a D-rank ability, metal transformation. It allowed him to reshape metal freely. Suddenly, an alarm blared. Both of them froze. Did we get caught? Qian Dodo whispered in panic. Then they heard a door open. A man in a white coat ran out screaming in terror. The monster, it's not dead. Before he could escape, a tentacle shot out and dragged him back. His screams echoed through the room. Yang Jie and Qian Dodo quickly hid in another chamber. Trembling, she clung to him, asking what was happening. But before they could react, another tentacle struck. It wrapped around Qian Dodo and dragged her away. Help me, she screamed. Yang Jie immediately activated his fire ability, but it wasn't enough. The monster was too fast. Chasing after it, Yang Jie noticed metal structures all around them. An idea formed. Using his metal transformation ability, he reshaped the metal and sliced through one of the monster's tentacles. Qian Dodo fell to the ground. He rushed to her side, asking if she was all right. Struggling free, she explained that the tentacles had hooks, and they caused intense pain. Her clothes were torn from the attack. They turned their attention to the monster. What they saw left them speechless. It was horrifying. Its head was a massive skull with huge teeth, and countless captives were trapped within it, begging for help. Tentacles extended from its body, even from its eye sockets. For a moment, both of them were too shocked to speak. Regaining his composure, Yang Jie used his metal ability again to defend against incoming attacks, but Qian Dodo warned him that this approach wouldn't work for long. They needed a better strategy. She was terrified, convinced they were going to die. Yang Jie scanned the surroundings desperately. Then, he noticed several containers of petrol. An idea sparked. Don't be afraid, he told her. I've got a plan. Without explaining further, he used his abilities to push the petrol containers toward the monster, then ignited them. Flames erupted. The captives seized the opportunity and began to escape, shouting for everyone to run. Yang Jie and Qian Dodo did the same. But just as they were escaping, another tentacle attacked Qian Dodo. Suddenly, an old man appeared. With a single strike, he cut the tentacle apart. His presence was overwhelming. Furious, he accused them of being the ones who had revived the monster and caused the chaos. Qian Dodo immediately argued back, demanding to know who he was and why he was making such accusation. The old man scoffed, saying she was rude. Back in his prime, she would have still been a child drinking milk. Qian Dodo, equally furious, snapped back at him. But Yang Jie quickly stepped in, recognizing the man. He bowed slightly. Senior Duan. This was Duan Shualo, the hero who had defeated the king Kong Berserker 10 years ago. Duan glanced at Yang Jie and remarked that he was at least respectful. Then he declared that he would deal with the monster first and settle things with him afterward. Yang Jie Watjed Garefuli, an A-rank hero here, in a corpse processing center? Without wasting another second, Duan charged forward and unleashed his signature technique, North Star attack style, Greedy Wolf Strike. Watching this, Yang Jie couldn't help but admire it. As expected of a legendary inherited ability, every move was refined and powerful. Even someone with S-rank abilities would be forced to take it seriously. Qian Dodo watched in awe as Duan Shualo unleashed his technique, unable to hold back her excitement as she exclaimed how incredible it was. But the monster only grew more enraged. Its speed doubled. Even so, the old man remained completely calm. Activating his Polar Star attack style, Twofold Heaven's Hunger, he pressed forward without hesitation. Then, drawing upon the power of heavenly water, he launched his final assault. The monster was defeated. After the battle ended, Duan Shualo turned his attention back to Yang Jie and Qian Dodo. Pointing at them with a cold gaze, he declared that now it was their turn. Yang Jie immediately noticed the sharpness in his eyes filled with determination and killing intent. Calmly, Yang Jie explained that they were not the ones who had revived the monster, but Duan Shualo didn't believe a single word. He scoffed, calling it nonsense, and stating that Yang Jie's presence alone was suspicious. Qian Dodo quietly asked Yang Jie if he was confident he could defeat the old man. Yang Jie replied honestly, no more. Then he asked her what she intended to do. Qian Dodo hesitated, then handed him a piece of equipment. This is armor made from a B-rank monster, she said quickly. It should help you. I'll support you. Yang Jie put it on, thinking to himself how absurd the situation had become. Somehow, it reminded him of his sister. At that moment, Duan Shualo charged forward again, shouting as he attacked. Yang Jie managed to defend himself. To his surprise, the armor was incredibly durable. It could even withstand Duan's powerful strikes. The two clashed fiercely. Yang Jie activated his brain reboot ability, sharpening his perception. Under its influence, Duan's attacks seemed slightly slower, but it still wasn't enough to overpower him. Duan attacked again, declaring that he had already figured him out. Yang Jie realized that he wouldn't survive at this rate, so he made a bold move. He used his human control ability. Duan froze for a brief moment. He looked at Yang Jie with surprise and asked if he had actually stopped his movement. Yang Jie replied calmly that he had no choice. Otherwise, he would have been in danger. Duan mocked him, calling it a cheap trick used by petty thieves. In response, Yang Jie used his metal transformation ability to form a sword. Their blades collided. Each of Duan's strikes carried overwhelming force. Yang Jie could only rely on his control ability to create small openings, just enough to avoid being cut in half. A crowd began to gather, watching the intense battle. Someone whispered in shock, "That's Duan Schwallow. Is that masked man a rank 6 hero from the Weapon God Zone?" Hearing this, Yang Jie silently wondered, "Weapon God? What was that?" Suddenly, Duan stopped. After observing Yang Jie closely, he lowered his weapon and told the crowd to leave the area. He had something important to discuss. Some people hesitated, but Duan's anger flared instantly. "Didn't you hear me?" he barked. Terrified, the crowd scattered immediately. He and Dodo glanced at Yang Jie and said she would wait for him outside. Now alone, Yang Jie asked Duan what he wanted to say. Duan looked at him and spoke calmly. "I know you're not a weapon god. Your techniques don't match theirs. Only your metal ability resembles that level." He continued, saying that despite that, Yang Jie possessed multiple abilities, which already made him extraordinary. Someone like him wouldn't come to a place like this just to steal fur. Then Duan asked, "Did you come here searching for the secrets of this world?" Yang Jie was confused. "What secrets?" But instead of questioning him directly, he decided to play along. "Yes," he answered. Duan laughed. "You're young and ambitious. Good. Someone like you deserves to know." He placed a hand on Yang Jie's shoulder and revealed the truth. The real purpose of the corpse processing center was to open a one-way tunnel to the monster world, a white hole. Yang Jie was stunned. Duan continued. 15 years ago, a white hole had successfully been opened in Luogan City. The Hero Association had sent a team of high-ranking heroes into the monster world on a special mission. Duan himself had been part of that team, but it ended in disaster. Many S-rank heroes died. Only 3 people, including Duan, managed to return alive, and they survived only by risking everything. He explained further. These corpse processing centers were deliberately built in the weakest points of the planet. By continuously burning monster corpses in those locations, they could maintain and expand white holes that connected to the monster world. Yang Jie listened carefully, then asked about the revived monster they had just encountered. Duan lowered his voice. "That's not something we can reveal to the public." He explained that it was a mutated monster, one that had been affected by the white hole. Then he added something chilling. Humans on this planet were like prey trapped by hunters. Only by gathering the strongest forces of humanity could they hope to fight back. After revealing everything, Duan turned away and told Yang Jie to leave. No matter which organization he belonged to, he should remember one thing. To the day, inside an office building, a woman reported to the director that Duan Shirao had acted recklessly by revealing such secrets. The director remained calm. Even if he hadn't said it, other organizations would have discovered it sooner or later. Secrets like this can't be hidden forever. She then informed him that a video conference from headquarters was ready. During the call, it was revealed that over 25 participants had already gathered. The condition for discussing a Category S case had been met. They needed to decide, should they reveal the truth to the Hero Association? Meanwhile, Yang Jia returned to the hospital to visit his sister, Yang Fei. Looking at her, he quietly asked what she knew. He had learned a bitter truth that day. Elsewhere, people whispered about the earlier battle, wondering if Yang Jia had truly fought Duan Shirao. Qian Dutu approached him and asked if he was all right. Yang Jia knew he couldn't reveal his abilities, so he simply said he was fine. Then he asked her to look into his eyes. Confused, she asked why. In that moment, Yang Jia activated his human control ability. He commanded her to forget that he had used fire and metal abilities. Instead, she would remember only that she had given him the armor and that he owed her 10,000. With a snap of his fingers, the effect was complete. Qian Dutu blinked, then smiled in relief, saying she was glad he was safe. Later, Yang Jia sat with his sister and told her everything. He even mentioned Qian Dutu, describing her as someone similar to her, kind and fond of money. He silently vowed that after avenging her, he would find a way to awaken her. That evening, back in his room, Yang Jie used his metal transformation ability again. This time he created something new, a star absorption ring. Then he prepared another plan. He couldn't reveal his true strength to others, so he would create a separate identity. Using his abilities, he crafted a new set of clothing, a persona called Snake. This identity would have different powers, C-rank lightning and fire-based attacks. It would appear as though he was part of a larger organization, an organization called Judges. Their purpose? To punish corrupted heroes. With everything ready, Yang Jie went to meet Lu Yuan. When he arrived, Lu Yuan was asleep. Without hesitation, Yang Jie kicked him awake. Startled, Lu Yuan lashed out in anger until he realized who it was. Immediately, he apologized, saying he had been tired. Yang Jie thanked him for coming, noting that he had clearly believed his offer. Lu Yuan eagerly called him boss, saying that if Yang Jie could grant him power, he would give him anything. Money, status, even women. Yang Jie pushed him away coldly. I'm not interested in that. Then he said, gaining power is simple. Just look into my eyes. Lu Yuan agreed. Yang Jie activated his human control ability and commanded him to reveal everything he knew about the blue pill, but nothing happened. Lu Yuan remained silent. Yang Jie frowned. Had it failed? He tried again, ordering Lu Yuan to slap himself. Still nothing. At that moment, a realization struck him. Could Lu Yuan already possess an ability? Perhaps a high-level power that resisted mental control? Without wasting time, Yang Jie switched strategies. He activated his mental attack ability. This time it worked. He successfully extracted Lu Yuan's power, but when he saw what it was, he froze. An A-rank ability, Resurrection. It allowed the user to revive once after death and return to a point one day in the past. Yang Jie was completely stunned. This wasn't just powerful. It was a game-changing ability. As Lu Yuan lay unconscious, Yang Jie spoke to him calmly, saying that after taking his ability, he would still treat him well. Then, he made his next move. He decided to place a special pearl inside Lu Yuan, a pearl he had obtained from the corpse processing center. Once it was done, he ordered Lu Yuan to wake up. Lu Yuan suddenly jolted awake and immediately demanded that Yang Jie give him power. But then he paused, confused. When did I fall asleep? He asked. Yang Jie brushed it off casually, saying he had simply been too tired. Then holding up his hand, Yang Jie showed him a ring. Have you seen this? He asked. Lu Yuan nodded. Yang Jie explained that it was a star absorption ring, created by his organization. It could extract power factors from others. Lu Yuan was stunned. Can it really do that? Yang Jie continued, explaining that the organization used special methods to turn those power factors into medicine that could grant abilities even to ordinary people. He then took out a bottle and tossed it to Lu Yuan. Lu Yuan stared at it suspiciously. What's in this? Are you trying to trick me? Yang Jie simply replied, drink it and you'll find out. For a moment, Lu Yuan hesitated. Could it be poison? But then he reasoned. If Yang Jie wanted to kill him, he wouldn't go through all this trouble. So, he made up his mind. He drank it. Yang Jie smiled faintly, telling him that he would soon understand the power of the medicine. Suddenly, Lu Yuan's body began to change. He screamed in agony, shouting that his entire body felt like it was burning. Yang Jie watched calmly. In truth, it had nothing to do with the medicine. He was controlling the pearl from a distance. For a brief moment, Lu Yuan transformed into a werewolf. What is this? He shouted in shock. Yang Jie explained that it was a transformation ability and asked how it felt. Still confused, Lu Yuan compared it to his brother, who could transform into a dragon. Was he stronger or weaker? Yang Jie answered bluntly. His brother had an E-rank ability and Lu Yuan only F-rank. Lu Yuan was furious. F-rank. Yang Jie cleared his throat and reassured him that since he had just joined the organization, he could only be given an F-rank ability for now. Lu Yuan looked devastated, almost on the verge of tears. Watching his reaction, Yang Jie couldn't help but think, even as a werewolf, Lu Yuan somehow looked like a foolish and oddly cute husky. Then Yang Jie added that since they would be working together, he had upgraded it to E-rank. Hearing this, Lu Yuan's mood changed instantly. If the organization could upgrade abilities like this, didn't that mean he could one day surpass even his father? Overwhelmed with excitement, Lu Yuan hugged Yang Jie tightly, calling him father and begging him to upgrade it to a rank. Struggling to free himself, Yang Jie frowned. Who are you calling father? Lu Yuan quickly corrected himself, calling him godfather instead. Yang Jie sighed and told him that even if he used such titles, the organization had strict rules. Lu Yuan could only rise if he achieved enough merit. Lu Yuan accepted this eagerly, praising the system. Then he asked about the organization itself. Yang Jie told him to listen carefully. Their organization was called Judges. It was founded by a single powerful individual. Beneath the boss were 12 zodiac leaders. Yang Jie himself was one of them, the rooster. Lu Yuan was shocked. If you're just one of the leaders, how strong is the boss? Yang Jie told him not to even try imagining it. The boss was not someone who showed himself easily. He was mysterious. Eager to prove himself, Lu Yuan asked how he could earn achievements quickly. Yang Jie replied that it was simple by completing tasks assigned by the organization, and he already had one for him. Using his identity as the young master of the company, Lu Yuan needed to investigate something, the blue pill. Lu Yuan asked what kind of pill it was. Yang Jie explained that it appeared to enhance a person's abilities, and that was exactly why he was interested in it. Lu Yuan's eyes lit up. If such a pill truly existed, it would be incredible. But Yang Jie warned him not to get any dangerous ideas. A hero had already used it once and had accidentally harmed an innocent person. Lu Yuan nodded, saying he understood. Then he asked, who was it? Yang Jie answered calmly, an A-rank hero from their company, Glacial Adventurer. Lu Yuan was shocked. That guy? He always looked so cool. Yang Jie told him that once he gathered enough information, they would meet again. And at that time, he would reward him with a D-rank ability. Lu Yuan agreed immediately. As Yang Jie walked toward the exit, he suddenly stopped. There was one more thing. The medicine only lasts for 1 week. Lu Yuan froze. That meant he had very little time. The next day, Yang Jie was walking through the city when something caught his attention, a public notice. He stepped closer to read it. Someone was searching for a person described as a man in a black robe with a white mask. If anyone had information, they were to contact Tan Daodu. Her phone number was listed. Yang Jie was stunned. Without thinking, he tore the notice down and walked away, muttering to himself. He hadn't expected that girl to have such resources. As he turned a corner, he noticed a group of people approaching. Among them, Tan Daodu. But something seemed off. Curious, Yang Jie decided to follow them quietly and listen in. Soon, 3 individuals surrounded Tan Daodu. She demanded to know who they were. One of them told her to listen carefully and return their young master's sword. Confused, she denied knowing anything about it. But the masked man in the group lost his patience, accusing her of tricking their young master. She had exchanged his sword for fake jewelry. Another warned her that if she wanted to live, she should hand it over immediately. He didn't Nearbi, Young Listenet Garefuli. Muramesa, an S-rank weapon. Could it really be in her possession? Meanwhile, Tan Daodu realized something. If the sword was truly that valuable, she wasn't going to give it up easily. She pulled out a small box and began acting again, pretending ignorance. Yang Jie couldn't help but think how weak her excuse sounded. Anyone could tell she was lying. The tension escalated. One of the attackers activated a 3-knife army-style ability, while another used doppelganger shadow style. Yang Jie immediately recognized them, inherited abilities and likely above C rank. But Tan Daodu didn't back down. He pulled out a weapon, a katana, and then suddenly threw it away while laughing, declaring that once something belonged to her, she wasn't obligated to return it. At that moment, the female attacker stepped forward. She possessed an A-rank ability, Snow Woman. Suddenly, a freezing storm engulfed the area. Tan Daodu froze in place, unable to move, and fell to the ground in pain. The woman approached her coldly and demanded the sword again, but even then, Tan Daodu refused. Instead, she did something unexpected. She threw the sword toward Yang Jie. This sword is yours now, she declared. Yang Jie caught it, slightly surprised. He thanked her, realizing she had already noticed his presence. But honestly, the sword looked worn and unimpressive. He couldn't understand why anyone would fight over it. Tan Daodu, embarrassed, admitted she hadn't expected to be chased over it, either. At that moment, the woman shouted that the two of them were clearly working together. She ordered her men to capture Yang Jie. Instantly, 4 men surrounded him. One of them lunged forward, attacking while hurling insults. The battle was about to begin, and Yang Jie suddenly realized something was wrong. The sword he was holding was draining his mental energy. His body began to move on its own. Is my body acting by itself? He wondered in shock. Without even trying, he swung the blade, and the man in front of him was cut cleanly into 2 pieces. Yang Jie froze. What the hell is happening? He muttered. Before he could process it, another attacker lunged at him from behind. But once again, the sword moved almost instinctively, neutralizing the threat. The man collapsed to his knees, begging for his teacher to save him. Yang Jie soed no hesitation. He extracted the man's ability. It was a C-rank ability, 3-sword style, sun and moon. As he absorbed it, the female attacker activated her power and launched an attack toward him. Yang Jie immediately realized at this rate, he might be forced to use his resurrection ability. But just then, a sudden green light illuminated the entire sky. Everyone was stunned. What is that? People shouted. Yang Jie narrowed his eyes. Is that the light of despair? Even Kian Dodo was shocked. Is that the lazy swordsman? Alongside him appeared another hero. Mo Long stepped forward and addressed the girl, saying that while her group's actions in the 6th region was unacceptable, the girl responded coldly, saying they were simply reclaiming what was rightfully theirs, and that others were misusing power. Kian Dodo pointed at her angrily, declaring that the sword had been given to her by her master, and now belonged to her. The girl quickly assessed the situation. 2 high-ranking heroes had arrived. She couldn't win, but she didn't show any fear. Instead, she continued using her freezing ability and turned toward the heroes. If you return what belongs to us, I'll leave Lugon City and spare my life, she said. Mo Long laughed. No one said you could leave. He made it clear that the 1st region wasn't a place one could enter and leave freely. Then he turned to Lazy Swordsman, stating that the girl was his responsibility, while he himself would test Yang Jia's abilities. Lazy Swordsman warned him not to go too far, as the company intended to recruit Yang Jia. But Mo Long had already stepped forward. Yang Jia raised a sword to defend himself, but the moment Mo Long struck, Yang Jia was sent flying backward. Kian Dodo gasped in concern. Mo Long looked unimpressed. Is that all you've got? Meanwhile, the girl activated her absolute zero ability. At the same time, Lazy Swordsman unleashed his wind-based sword technique, deflecting her attacks and striking her down. However, he calmly stated that he hadn't actually killed her. Kian Dodo protested, insisting she had clearly fallen, but Lazy Swordsman shook his head. It was just an illusion. She escaped. Soon, they noticed something else. Yang Jia was gone too. In reality, Yang Jia had hidden himself behind a nearby building, cursing the sword. It had drained nearly all his energy. How was he supposed to survive now? Then a thought struck him. If this sword came from a monster, could he extract an ability from it? Without hesitation, he tried. The system responded, extraction successful. He gained 2,500 units of dark energy. Then, breaking the sword down into black cubes, he realized something important. Even though he couldn't extract a direct ability, the material itself provided a massive amount of dark energy. If the sword originated from an S-rank monster, then these cubes were incredibly valuable. Thinking ahead, he asked himself, what kind of power would he need to face something like a dragon? Taking an ability sphere, he activated the system. The result, D-rank ability, metal transformation. But he didn't stop there. He tried again. This time he succeeded. An A-rank ability, metal control. Within a radius of 1,000 m, he could control all metal up to a maximum weight of 100,000 tons. The system even described it simply. He had become something like an Iron Man. At that moment, the girl sensed the change. Yang Jia could now feel everything, cars, buildings, structures, every piece of metal around him. Finally, he had the power to truly fight. Just then, the girl attacked him from behind, but Yang Jia sensed it instantly and deflected her attack. She continued attacking relentlessly, but every strike was pushed back effortlessly. Fear began to creep into her eyes. How is this possible? She whispered. Yang Jia stepped forward and grabbed her. She demanded that he let her go, but he remained calm. He even added, almost casually, that he tended to be gentler when dealing with women. Before she could react, Yang Jia used his extraction ability. He took her power, an A-rank ability, Snow Woman. It allowed the summoning of a snow entity for combat, or even merging with it to enhance the user. Yang Jia found it interesting, but still treated it as just another ability. The girl reverted to her original form and collapsed. Yang Jia picked her up. At that moment, Lazy Swordsman and Mo Long appeared again. Mo Long looked at Yang Jia suspiciously, asking if he was truly the same person who had been thrown away earlier. Lazy Swordsman also noticed something. His aura had changed. Yang Jia placed the unconscious girl down and calmly stated that she wasn't just a passerby. She was the Snow Woman, and he had already dealt with her. Mo Long grew angry. Are you mocking me? How could someone like him defeat such a being? Yang Jia reminded Zhao. If you don't believe me, you could try. He then asked, which one of you wants to go first, or will both of you attack together? At that moment, a live broadcast reporter went on air. Shocked by what he was witnessing, was this man really challenging 2 A-rank heroes alone? Viewers were stunned. Some even began admiring him. Others called him terrifying. Mo Long, however, refused to team up. If we fight together, we'll lose our dignity as A-rank heroes. Yang Jia Siget. What a pity. A 1 versus 2 fight would have been interesting. Mo Long turned to Lazy Swordsman, saying that to defeat an enemy, one must understand them. But Lazy Swordsman ignored him. He was already stepping forward. Before attacking, Mo Long noticed something, the ring on Yang Jia's hand. It looked unusual. Perhaps it was connected to the disappearance of abilities. He warned his partner to be cautious, But Lazy Swordsman simply replied that he wanted to see how Yang Jia had defeated the Snow Woman. Then he attacked. Yang Jia blocked the strike, and in an instant moved behind him, launching a counterattack. But Lazy Swordsman reacted just as quickly, blocking it with his blade. Yang Jia realized something. That sword, it was made from monster materials. It counted as metal. But aside from that, Lazy Swordsman himself carried nothing else metallic. In a prolonged fight, Yang Jia would lose. He needed more power fast. Without hesitation, he combined two abilities, the E-rank Snow Woman ability and the E-rank Human Control ability. The result, a new E-rank ability, Control of Puppets. It could manipulate E-rank targets with deception and brainwash targets below B-rank. It also allowed him to inhabit a puppet's body durations. Yang Jia Smirket, a shameless ability, indeed, but useful. Just then, Lazy Swordsman shouted, asking what he was doing in the middle of a fight. Yang Jia calmly replied, "Don't be so impatient." Then he activated his new ability. Suddenly, Lazy Swordsman saw something, a woman, his sister. She stood before him, asking if he would really point his sword at her. He froze. When the illusion broke, he staggered back in shock. Was that a mental ability? Do you really have dual abilities? Yang Jia replied calmly that he had realized his weakness long ago. Even someone like Lazy Swordsman, with powerful wind-based techniques, had a weakness. Fury overtook him. He charged forward again, shouting that he knew it was his late sister, and he couldn't bring himself to strike her. But he was already exhausted. The crowd watched in disbelief. Some shouted for him to get back up. Others whispered, "It's over." Lazy Swordsman had been defeated. And now, all that remained was one final hope. Could the evil dragon defeat Yang Jia? The crowd was in complete shock. One man openly admitted that after seeing Yang Jia defeat the Lazy Swordsman so quickly, he had practically become his fan. Meanwhile, the live broadcast host continued reporting, describing how the Lazy Swordsman sat on the ground in disbelief. He pointed out that although the swordsman had been cautious of Yang Jia's metal abilities, he had never expected him to possess a hidden mental ability as well. The Lazy Swordsman's hands trembled uncontrollably. It was clear the outcome had already been decided. Nearby, Qian Dodo stood beside a reporter and called out to Yang Jia, praising him. She admitted she had thought he would die, but if that had happened, who would return her 10,000? Yang Jia couldn't help but think, is someone seriously complaining about money right now? Mo Long walked over to the defeated Lazy Swordsman and told him he had done well. After all, he had forced Yang Jia to reveal his trump card. Now, he should leave the rest to him. The Lazy Swordsman warned him in return, don't look into his eyes. If he did, he would see the person he loved most standing before him. Taking that warning seriously, Mo Long stepped forward to face Yang Jia. Seeing him, Yang Jia asked calmly, "So, the evil dragon has finally come out?" Mo Long, known as the evil dragon, replied that this battle was necessary and proposed a wager. Yang Jia found it interesting and asked what he was offering. The evil dragon said that if he lost, he would reveal the secret behind the ring. Yang Jia smirked, "If you can take it yourself, then try." At the same time, Yang